Through higher education, she has inspired hundreds, but perhaps has touched just as many through her own form of expression. Taking everyday objects and turning them into vibrant imagery with a deeper meaning, to envisioning and communicating a profound definition to the ordinary. On this edition of Art Now, we'll look at the work of Billie Theide.
Hi, welcome to Art Now, a program where we talk to artists whose work is part of our community. I'm Pat Sammann, and I'll be your host. Our guest today is Billie Theide, professor in the School of Art and Design at the University of Illinois. She also is a James Avery Endowed Chair, the first in the College of Fine and Applied Arts, the chair of the Studio Division, and the program chair for Metals and Ceramics. Her MFA is from Indiana University, and her BFA is from Drake University. Billie has received a Visual Arts Fellowship from the National Endowment for the Arts and 5 Artists Fellowship grants from the Illinois Arts Council. She also is a past president of the Society of North American Goldsmiths. Since 1978, her works have been included in over 450 exhibitions, and they can be found in the permanent collections of the De Young Museum in San Francisco, the Museum of Arts and Design in New York, and the Smithsonian American Art Museum in Washington, D.C., as well as in many international collections. Billie, thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Pat. This community has really had a major impact on my career as well as campus, and so it's really a pleasure to be able to give something back.
Well, thank you. Okay, my first question would be, what early experiences led you to a career in art?
I was always interested in art as a young child, and really, I think the most amazing thing is that my parents didn't talk me out of it. They actually supported my interest in the arts, and I, as you know, went to Drake University in Des Moines. I started out in art education there, followed by graphic design, and then metalsmithing and jewelry design.
Yeah, great. Your husband, Remus Vizgerda, who we see here in this picture with you, is a ceramic sculptor. And here are just a few of his works here. How has that influenced your work as an artist? And have you ever collaborated?
Right. So I met Remus in the mid-'80s, and I met him at Drake University. I was no longer a student there at the time, but Remus and I had both joined the faculty. Remus was hired to teach in the ceramics program, and I was hired to teach jewelry design and metalsmithing. And interestingly, up to that time, I had never touched clay. And so it's really Remus who gave me the encouragement, I think, to think about this material that was so unlike my personality. It's warm, it's malleable, it's dirty, and really the direct opposite of what metal is.
Right.
And so he encouraged me to try my hand with the material. And since then has gotten me involved in participating in some symposiums in Eastern Europe. Have we collaborated? We've not worked on a single object together. Actually, I always joke and I say that if I'm stuck at all in my work, I'll ask Remus for his opinion, and then I'll do exactly the opposite.
Yeah.
But other than that, we have 2 small boys, and I think that's our biggest collaboration.
Very good. Okay. This next photo shows you with one of your current classes of students. You have earned the Award for Excellence in Undergraduate Teaching from the U of I, and have been the first ever recipient of the National Niche Art Educator of the Year Award. What is it that's drawn you to teaching?
My first teaching experience was at Indiana University in Bloomington when I was a graduate candidate. I was offered a position to teach as a graduate student.
Yeah.
And so I was interested in knowing what that exchange looked like. I enjoyed it. I never anticipated that I would go on to have a career in academia. When I graduated from Indiana, I had planned to go back into the field of graphic design. I had a job waiting for me. And then there were some position announcements for teaching positions across the country, and I applied for one and was a finalist and was offered that position at San Diego State University. And I cannot now imagine not teaching. I really enjoy sharing information with my students, and I think more than anything, I really enjoy celebrating their successes with them.
That's great. Very good. Let's now turn to your work. You have designed and fabricated objects and jewelry from a wide variety of materials, and you have stated that in the perfect piece, concept, function, and beauty are equal. Many of your pieces are based on domestic objects. Here we'll look at a few of the teapots you've created. These first examples were inspired by the rugged rock formations of the American West, and we have one of those right here.
Right. Remus's mother lived in Northern California. And so when we first met, we would make a couple times a year, we would drive cross country.
Yeah.
And initially, I slept through that landscape. And at some point, I woke up and started observing it and finding the beauty within these large butte formations. And I was also drawn to the fine details of the landscape at different times of the year.
Okay. And here's one of your teapots.
And so formally, the butte formations are something that I drew as we traveled cross country. And for me, those lended themselves to these teapot forms.
Right.
And then the patinas on the forms were observations, as I said, of looking at the landscape, looking at the fine details of that landscape. Right. So these initial, these butte teapot forms are non-utilitarian. They're a bit oversized. They are fabricated in much the same way that a clothing designer would make an object. They have seam allowances, they have stitches. They're made from bronze screen. And it in itself is not that, it's somewhat flexible. Okay. And so after I fabricated the forms, I electroformed them. I deposited a heavier metal onto the surface to give them some more solid structure.
Okay. And here's another example.
And this is an example of that detail that I was talking about. And the coloration is something that in my first sabbatical here at the U of I was able to do some investigation into a variety of chemical patinas.
Great. And here's another one.
This is another one inspired by that landscape, in this case a sort of double-decker teapot.
Okay. And then here are a few of your others.
And this piece is titled Jester. It's one of the first teapots in that series where the surface became a bit more decorated, in this case this checkerboard. And I think we're going to see an image of a porcelain teapot. I think that might be this one. Right. This teapot probably predated the one before it. I made this teapot in Lauchki, Czech Republic, during a symposium. I slip cast the teapot. I made some molds and used liquid porcelain to fill the cavities. And that particular tableware factory that I was working in, up in the attic, they had a large collection. Actually, it was their decal storage room. And I had a chance to go in there and take a look at the ceramic decals and started to think about how I could decorate the surfaces of these forms.
Yeah.
And then, so the ceramic teapots have always inspired my activities in terms of metal making. And I think when I came back to the States, I probably made that Jester teapot based on thinking about more traditional ceramic adornment.
Right. Okay, and here are a few others.
This next group of pieces were done in the early, around 2001 to about maybe 2005 or 6, and they're hybrid forms.
Okay.
I am a collector, and we're going to see, I think from here on, we're going to see where those collections are begin to be introduced into the work. These hybrid forms are combinations of forms that I fabricated along with collections of vintage silver plate.
Oh, okay.
So in this case, the teapot body was fabricated. And then this particular one is quadruple. It's titled Quadruple because the silver plate that I snagged, appropriated that handle and spout from, was stamped quadruple on the bottom. It didn't have a silver plate company, but it said quadruple plate.
Right.
And then this series of pieces were painted using automotive paints.
Oh, okay. Yeah, those give you a really bright color and
this
shine.
This one is from 2001, another hybrid form titled Van Berg. It graced the covers of American Craft magazine about that time. And in this case, again, the body was fabricated, and then the spout and handle and knob were taken from a piece of Van Berg silver plate.
Okay, and then we have this one.
Polka dot. This piece was untitled. And this is actually similar to a coffee pot form that I made when I was in grad school at Indiana University. At that time, every MFA candidate was required to make a coffee pot, and it was one of the most difficult projects that I took on. And that piece was a silver piece. This piece, of course, has automotive paint on it. But I think it was that piece from Indiana that really led me to exploring a coffee pot or teapot form. The forms are complex. There's a body, there's a handle, there's a spout, typically a knob on a lid and a foot. And all of those elements have to work together, and they all can have a conversation with one another, or an argument in some cases, which I also find intriguing.
Okay, here's another.
This one is F.B. Rogers, and actually it was the first teapot in that series.
Okay, now with these next pieces, you've created some recognizable objects with white porcelain. Why did you choose this material and this color?
So Remus and I traveled for the first time to Laučky, Czech Republic, to participate in a ceramic symposium in a traditional tableware factory. And that was my first time to really sort of experiment with the material and try to break some rules in an attempt to find a process that was uniquely my own. And after Laučky, Czech Republic, we traveled to Poland to participate in similar symposiums. I went by myself to mainland China. We've been to Hungary, to the International Ceramics Studio 2 times. I really like porcelain. It is, well, actually in the 1700s, porcelain was termed white gold. It was actually more valuable than gold. This piece is titled Chance. The porcelain is left unglazed, with the exception of the one sort of card, almost like a playing card, right in the front, which has been treated with a clear glaze and then a 22 karat gold luster finish on it.
Right. Okay, this Next one.
These objects are similar to vintage oil canisters. And again, some elements of the fine porcelain have been glazed. Some of the glazes have then been lustered with the same 22 karat gold luster. Some areas exhibit luster but without glaze.
Okay.
And so I'm really interested in the sculptural qualities of these forms.
Right. Okay, here's the next one.
This piece interests me because of the possible narrative. It's titled Guilt. And I think, as we're going to see in a few minutes, something that I've spent a great deal of time with is making objects that are diamond shaped. And diamonds have many connotations, and I'm really interested in the combination of these two particular forms, the crosses with this diamond form.
Right. Okay, and here we do turn to a number of works you did that related to the shape and the visual qualities of diamonds.
Several years ago, I was invited to participate in a ceramic sculpture symposium in Panevėžys, Lithuania. Actually, a family there, so it was pretty exciting to go there and work for a month.
Yeah.
I worked in a factory, and I decided that the objects that I wanted to take on there were hand-built ceramic forms. These are actually built from stoneware. Stoneware gave me the possibility to create large forms, and in this case, some multiple forms.
Okay, I do have some close-ups.
Okay. So this is one of the pieces, actually probably preparing to go into the kiln. It hasn't been fired yet. And so princess cut diamonds, emerald cut diamonds were part of this installation.
Okay, and here's another close-up.
Right, these are pieces on a drying rack ready to go into the kiln. There were 100 of these pieces. So it's talking about the excess of diamonds. And this is what I wrote. This is what I wrote at the time. And this is why diamond as a sort of symbol is important to me. So diamond suggests many things. 130 million carats, or 26,000 kilograms, are mined annually with a total value of $9 billion US. The word is derived from ancient Greek and means invincible. Diamonds were religious icons in ancient India. Diamond popularity has increased due to innovative and successful advertising campaigns. The mining and distribution of natural diamonds are subjects of frequent controversy. It's actually that controversy that is of interest to me. De Beers holds a monopoly on the diamond trade, and there's a substantial markup on the sale of diamonds with virtually no resale market. In Africa, some revolutionary groups have taken control of diamond mines in order to use the proceeds to finance operations. And at the same time, diamonds are passed down from one generation to another and supposedly represent love and wealth.
Right.
And this is what has driven me to explore this metaphor.
Okay. And here are some of the jewelry pieces you've made that relate to diamonds.
This is a chain with rubber diamonds, diamonds that I've cast.
Okay.
These are images of diamonds. So these are images of diamonds that then have been laminated and stitched together.
Okay.
And these diamonds are made of a very mundane material, craft paper.
Okay.
And these are actually made from milk cartons. I cut milk cartons apart, and there's a companion piece for this. It's a bracelet. I actually found that I could dye that material as well.
Oh, okay. You could have a lot of different things with that then. Okay. Here are some additional pieces of jewelry made of porcelain.
I made these few jewelry pieces in the second symposium that I participated in Kecskemét, Hungary. At the time, I was trying to figure out a way to integrate my ceramic practice with my metal practice. And so I naturally looked toward making ceramic jewelry. These pieces are made from Heron porcelain, a very fine porcelain, again with some gold luster, and in this case, gold metallic threads.
Okay, and here's another.
These are beads, ceramic beads that are strung, and again with some here decal decoration, minimal, in contrast to that teapot we saw earlier.
Right.
And again, I think that you'll see the connection here to that single diamond and the gold crosses earlier. Right. This version in a wearable piece.
Okay. In talking about these next pieces, you've said that you have a long-time passion, perhaps obsession, for collecting and recording, as well as an awakening interest in commenting on history. We're going to see a few works here that reflect that. Right.
These are 10 sterling silver spoons that I collected singly on eBay, and each of the bowls of the spoons are engraved with the name of American heiress. The piece is titled Born With.
Ah, very good.
And it is from a series of works titled Secondhand Realities.
Okay.
And here, vintage ring boxes. This piece is titled Insincere. Again, I collected these ring boxes on eBay. One of the boxes has been altered. There's a more elaborate piece that followed this, a collection of 32 vintage ring boxes, 11 of which had been altered, and really speaks about failed relationships. Handkerchiefs. Yes.
Now, what is this actually made of?
This is a handkerchief. This is a vintage handkerchief. Several years ago, I collected a number of handkerchiefs and altered them, and they were shown in Cranard Art Museum. I installed them on one of the walls. Each handkerchief was altered. And about handkerchiefs.
Yes.
Elaborate, sometimes decorative, nostalgic, and tangible claws serving mundane purposes. The ultimate accessory. Handkerchiefs are tangible artifacts, pieces of history in your hand, in your pocket, or in your purse. Hankies gather the fluids from our bodies, our tears, and our blood, and simultaneously exist as cultural icons that resonate with meaning. And it really, my interest in these sort of found objects has to do with the inherent meanings of the objects, whether it's diamonds or silver spoons, or in this case, handkerchiefs, or in the case of my most recent work, tableware.
Right, yeah, and I think too there are things that people can easily relate to because they're so familiar with these objects. Okay. These last few pieces are objects that mimic existing things, creating their meaning by doing so. So if you can just talk about these.
I showed these pieces recently in the faculty exhibition at Cranard Art Museum. They're a collection of, well, there are 3 pieces so far, and it's something that I hope to look into further. Here we have a Fiesta plate with a companion brooch. And so the brooch is attempting to mimic the qualities of that plate. And the next one is a willow plate, a traditional willow plate. Here, the brooch is made of fabric. The image I hand embroidered onto the brooch to mimic that same image that you would see on a traditional willow plate.
And how large is that?
The plate is, of course, life size. It's a dinner plate size, and the brooch is approximately 4 inches across.
Okay.
And this one, this was the final piece of those 3 pieces, and probably the most humorous of the 3.
Yeah, I really like this one.
This brooch is mimicking this false craft plate. And the plates themselves are also significant for me. I collect Fiesta.
Ah, okay.
My aunt collected Desert Rose, and my mother helped to build her collection. And then Willow is one of those patterns that is just iconic in the field.
Right. Okay. I think that is it for today then. I appreciate your coming. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
And thanks for watching Art Now. Our guest today has been Professor Billie Theide. You can see her art locally at the Cinema Gallery in Urbana. We hope that you enjoyed today's show, and we also hope it will inspire you to explore the local art scene and to make your own art now.